Find the location and nature of the critical points of the function. And we see here that we have a function in two variables. So we're going to have to do partial derivatives, the partial differentiation. Now, here we have our formula for the D test. First, we will find the first partial derivatives and second partial derivatives. So we find fx, fy, fxx, fy, and fxy. So fyy and fxy. We also find fyx. We expect fxy to be the same as fyx. So let us find those. We have fx is equal to, so we differentiate considering x as a variable and y as a constant. We have 2x y squared minus 2 5 10x minus 8y. Okay. Now fy equals, this is 2x squared y minus 10y minus 8x. Okay, let's find fxx. So we differentiate fx with respect to x. We have 2 2's 4 y minus 10. And then fyy, where we differentiate fy with respect to y. And remember, at each point, you should pause the video and make an attempt at working these out. So we have fyy would be 4x minus 10. Okay. What about fxy? We differentiate fx with respect to y. That would be 4xy minus 8. And if we do fyx, differentiate fy with respect to x, we have 2xy minus 8. Alright. So we have our partial derivative, first and second partial derivatives. Now, let's look back at our formula sheet. The next thing we will do is solve the system of equation equating fx to 0 and fy to 0. Let coordinates a, b represent a solution. Alright, so we equate fx to 0 and fy to 0. So if we equate fx to 0, we're going to have 2xy squared minus 10x minus 8y equals 0. We will also have 2x squared y minus 10y minus 8x equal 0. Alright. Now, if we subtract the equations from one another, we have 2xy squared minus 2x squared y. We subtract this from this. Alright. Plus, I use plus here because we're going to consider plus this minus this. Working this way, I find that it's I would be less likely to make a mistake. So it's negative 10x minus negative 10y. Alright, plus then negative 8y minus negative 8x equals 0 minus 0, which is 0. Let's factor out the 2x and y here. Let's factorize this from now. 2xy. Inside the bracket, we would have y and then minus x. So we have y minus x there, plus, let's open the brackets and simplify what we have here. I have negative 10x plus 10y minus 8y plus 8x equals 0. So now 2xy, y minus x, plus, this would be a negative 10x plus 8x. That would become negative 2x. And then 10y minus 8y is a positive 2y equals 0. What do we do now? 2xy, y minus x. You can factor out the 2 plus 2 times, and then let's call this y minus x equals 0. Alright? So, when we have those now, oh, look at the y minus x. Y minus x and y minus x is a common factor here. So we could put y minus x outside the bracket. And inside the bracket we have 2xy plus 2 equals 0. Alright? Now here, we have two things multiply and they give us 0. Y minus x multiplied by 2xy plus 2 and they give us 0. What that means is one of them must be 0 or the other is 0. Because 0 times 0 is 0. 0 times anything is 0. Or maybe both of them are 0 because 0 times 0 is 0. So if y minus x equals 0, then y equals x. Right? And if 2xy plus 2 equals 0, then what happens? You're going to have 2xy is equal to negative 2. If we divide by 2xy is equal to negative 1 and y is equal to negative 1 over x. Alright. So, therefore it is either that y equals x or that y is equal to negative 1 over x. Alright? Now, we want to substitute that into the partial derivative that we equated to 0. That we're going to equate to 0. So f of x, fx I mean, fx, we're going to have to equate this to 0 because remember, the next part is to equate them to 0. No, we did that already. My mistake. We equated them to 0 already, right? And solved. Now, what we have, this y equal x and the y equal negative 1 over x. I want to put them in any of these two, right? We have, let's just rewrite them further down, right? 2xy squared. I will put just highlight them. Just highlight them. So we have these. Put them in square bracket. 2xy squared minus 10x minus 8x. No. 2xy squared minus 10x minus 8y equals 0. 2xy squared minus 8x minus 10y equals 0. Is that correct? 2xy squared minus 10x minus 8y Oh, I mixed it up. So it is 2xy squared minus 10x minus 10x minus 8y equals 0. Alright, good. Now, if we put y equal x here, it means that y squared is x squared. So let's put it as x squared. And y is x. So let's put this as x and see what happens in this case. Now, what we have there is 2x cubed minus, well, negative 10x minus 8x would be what? Negative 18x, so it's minus 18x equals 0. Alright, so here, if we divide both sides by 2, we have x cubed minus 9x equals 0. Then, let's factor out x. And we have x squared minus 9 equals 0. And then this now is a difference of 2 squared. So we have x plus 3, x minus 3 equals 0. So here we have x would be 0, or x would be negative 3, or x would be positive 3. So you see, we have to make use of our knowledge of algebra when solving difference of two squares. Alright, we had used the 2x squared minus 10x minus 8x. Suppose we use the other one. 2x squared y. Let's try this one. We have 2x squared y minus 10y minus 8x equals 0. Minus 10y minus 8x equals 0. And we consider that y equal x. What would happen? In that case, if y is x, we could just get rid of this y and put x there. And this y as well. And use x. So we'd have 2x cubed minus 10x minus 8x, which would be negative 18x equals 0. So we'll divide by 2 and I get x cubed minus 9x. Same thing would happen, right? It's just like the one we did before, so you don't have to worry about this. So here, when we have x equals 0, x equals negative 3, x equals 3, where we get it from the y equal x, right? We're working with y equal x here, this one. So if y is equal to x, right? Then when x equals 0, y would be what? From the this derivative, when x is 0, you would have 2 times 0 times y squared. This would be 0. 10 by 0, or when x is 0, minus 8y equals 0. So what you have when x is 0, you would have negative 8y equals 0. So y would be 0. So y is 0, right? When x is 0, y is 0. What happened when x is equal to negative 3? What happened? When x is negative 3, what we would have? 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. So we have negative 6y squared. So we'll have negative 6 y squared, right, minus 10 by negative 3, which is minus 10 by negative 3 would be minus 10 times negative 3 minus 8y equals 0. So that minus 8y equals 0. Alright. Negative 10 by negative 3. That would be plus 30. So that would be plus 30. Right? Now, oh, hold on. Mistake. I'm using the y equal x. So when x is 0, y is 0. Mine straight a while ago. When x is 0, y is 0. Right. I mean, when x is 0, y is 0. When x is negative 3, y is negative 3. And we got when x is 3, y is 3. Right. So, what we have are 3 points already, 0, 0. And then we can find the z location. We have negative 3, and find what z is. Just want to find the full location, 3, and then z. Now, when x is 0 and y is 0, what is z? Remember, f of xy is what we call z, the third axis. So it would be 0, 0, 0. Everything would amount to 0. So here, z would be 0. So x is 0, y is 0, z is 0. X, y, and z. 0, 0, 0. Right at the origin. What about negative 3 and negative 3? What would z be? If x is negative 3, with negative 3 squared. Alright, let's use our calculator and work it out. Here's a calculator. Alright. So x is negative 3 and y is negative 3. Negative 3 squared is 9. Times negative 3 squared again is 9. Minus 5 by negative 3 squared. 5 by 9. Minus 45. 5, 9, 45. Minus 5 by negative 3 squared again. 5, 9, 45. Minus, alright, going to be 8 times negative 3 by negative 3 is a positive 9. 8 by 9 equal negative 81. So we have negative 81 as the z location here. So this would be negative 81. Alright? And then when x is 3 and y is 3, what is z? Alright, so let's see what z would be in this case. Remember, both of them now are positive 3. So 3 3 is 9 times 3 3 is 9 minus 5 by 3 squared, 5 by 9, which is 45, minus 5 by 3 squared again, 5 by 9, which is 45, minus 8 by 3 by 3. 8 by 9 is 72, minus 72 equal, again, negative 81. So we have negative 81. So this would be a negative 81. So we have the location of those 3 points from the y equal x. Let's use the y equal negative 1 over x and see what other points we get. So y is equal to negative 1 over x. If we use 2xy squared, right? 2xy squared minus 10x. So we have 2xy squared minus 10x. This was fx, right? That's fx. 2xy squared minus 10x minus 8y equals 0. Minus 8y equals 0. Alright? This is what we're using now. Now, if we let y equal 1 over x, then we have 2x times negative 1 over x, negative 1 over x squared minus 10x minus 8 times negative 1 over x. So you have 2x. This would be the negative x. The negative 1 over x will become positive over x squared minus 10x plus 8 over x equals 0. You see that? Now, x would cancel. No, this would be x squared here. X would cancel x squared to give 2 over x minus 10x plus 8 over x equals 0. 2 over x plus 8 over x will be 10 over x. So it's 10 over x. 10 over x minus 10x equals 0. But what would happen here now is that, well, if you multiply both sides by x, you have 10 minus 10x squared equals 0. And if you divide both sides by 10, you have 1 minus x squared equals 0. So this is a difference of 2 squares. So you'd have 1 plus x, 1 minus x equals 0. So x is equal to 1 and x is negative 1. Right? X would be 1 and negative 1. Let's see what would happen if we tried it with the 2x squared y. Let's try that. 2x squared y minus 10y minus 10y minus 8x equals 0. Minus 8x equals 0. Remember, y is negative 1 over x. So what we would do is say 2x squared times negative 1 over x squared minus 10 and negative 1 over x minus 8x equals 0. This will become 2x squared over x plus 10 over x minus 8x. So what you'll get is x, and we cancel this. So you have 2x minus 8x plus 10 over x equals 0. So you'd have negative. So what that would give you, negative is a plus, and then it would be 2x squared y. 2x squared times y is equal to negative 1 over x, right? Oh, this wouldn't have been squared. A mistake here. The square was taken care of already. This would not have been squared. So this would be 2x squared times negative 1 over x. Negative 1 over x minus 10. Y is equal to negative 1 over x. So it's negative 1 over x minus 8x would be 0. So we'll have negative 2x it would be negative 2x. X into x1, x into x squared goes x times negative 2x. Plus 10 over x minus 8x would be 0. So when you do this, it will be negative 10x plus 10 over x equals 0. If you multiply by x squared, you have negative 10x squared minus 10 equals 0. Divide by plus 10 equals 0. Divide by 10 will be negative x squared plus 1 equals 0, which is 1 minus x squared equals 0. It will be the same thing, right? It's the same thing that would happen. So we don't have to worry about this part of things, alright? Anyway, let's see what happened here. When x is 1, y is negative 1, and then since y is equal to negative 1 over x, then when x is 1, y would be negative 1 over 1, which is negative 1. And then when x is negative 1, y would be negative 1 over negative 1, which is positive 1. So what we have is 1, negative 1, 1, negative 1, alright? What would be the values of z? 1 and negative 1. So we'll have x is 1, y is negative 1. What would happen here? This would be 1 squared times negative 1 squared. That would be 1 minus x is 1, so minus 5 minus 5 by negative 1 squared would be minus 5 minus 8 by negative 1 by negative 1 would be a plus 8. Negative 5 minus 5 is negative 10. Negative 10 plus 8 would be negative 2 plus 1. And z would be negative 2 plus 1. Negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. And that x equal negative 1, y equal 1, we would have negative 1 squared is 1 times 1, which is 1, minus 5 by negative 1 squared would be 5, minus negative 1 squared is 1, times 5 is 5, minus 8 by negative 1 by a positive 1 will be plus 8. Same thing, z will be negative 1 in both cases. So what you would have is negative 1, negative 1. So we have these as a critical points. Now here, let's do the z test now. So the d test, I mean, d is f of xx ab. So I want to find out what is d. d is f of xx ab times f of yy ab. A and b would be the values of x and y. Alright? F of xx ab, f of yy ab minus f of xy ab squared minus f of xy ab. And that will be squared. So at 0, 0. At 0, 0. Not 0, 0. 0, 0, 0. At 0, 0, 0. D would be, now f of xx here. We have xx at 0, 0. When x is 0 and y is 0, right? X is 0 and y is 0. X would be 4 by 0 minus 10. So you have negative 10 times fyy, when x is 0 and y is 0. Xyy would be what? 4 by 0 is also negative 10. So you have negative 10 times, no, plus or minus I mean, xy squared. Now when you have 0, 0, what happened with xy? Would be negative 8. Negative 8 squared. Alright? What we would have is negative 8 squared. So d would be 100 minus 64. So positive. Alright? Now, if f of xx, this d is a positive, d is greater than 0. What happened at xx? At xx, you have, so d, let's just make a note, d is greater than 0, fxx, what happened to it? Fxx was negative 10 by negative 10. It's a positive. It's also greater than 0. Right? So here, when you have both of them greater than 0, you have a minimum point. Right? So you have xx of 8. Oh! Xx was negative 10. It's less than 0. My mistake. This negative 10 is xx and this negative 10 is yy. So it's less than 0. Fx is less than 0. So what you have is that 0, 0, 0 is a minimum point. Right? 0, 0, 0. A maximum point, I mean. And this is less than 0. So a maximum point. Alright? So when d is greater than 0, and when d is greater than 0, fxx is less than 0, what you have is a maximum point there. So we found the nature of one of these points. What about negative 3, negative 3, negative 81? So what happened at negative 3, negative 3, negative 81? What happened there? We want to find xx. So at that point, d equals, what is f of xx? Xx was 4y minus 10. Right? When you have 3 for y, 4 by 3 is 12. 12 minus 10, so 4 3 is 12, 12 minus 10 is 2. 12 minus 10 is 2. You have 2, right, times. Well, you can see here that fxx is a negative number, right? So here, fxx is negative, but we also need to find out what happened to D at that point. Alright? We want to find out what D is. So, when x is negative 3 and y is negative 3, x is negative 3, y is negative 3, fxx is 4 by, hold on, 4 by what? Negative 3. It's not positive 3 we're looking at. We're looking at negative 3. Right. 4 by negative 3 is negative 12. Negative 12 minus 10 is negative 22. So the point we're looking at is negative 3. Right. So this would be a negative 22 then. Right. Not positive. It's negative 22. Times, we want yy now. Remember, here is also positive. It is a negative, negative 3. 4 by negative 3. Negative 12 minus 10. It's also a negative 22. So it's a negative 22 minus f of xy squared. Now, xy, both x and y are negative 3. xy going to be negative 3 by negative 3 is positive 9. 4 9 is 36. 36 minus 8 is what? 36 minus 8, that's 24. 36 minus 8, 24 is minus 24. So, here, know that 22 by 22, 22 by 22 equal 484 minus 24. D is greater than 0. So here, D is greater than 0. And F, what it says, fxx, what happened with at fxx? fxx is what? What happened to fxx? fxx is negative, less than 0. So we can see that this is also a maximum point. So here, let me write it completely. We have 3, 3, negative 81. No, negative 3, I mean negative 3, negative 81 is also a maximum point. What about 3, 3, negative 81 now? Positive 3, negative 81. What happened at that point? D will be equal to. Now, both x and y are positive. At xx, 4, 3 is 12. 12 minus 10 is 2. It's a positive. So at 3, we have positive 2 times, I think it's going to be positive 2 as well. Let's just check and make sure. So at 3, 3, when x is 3, y is 3, fyy is 4, 3 is 12, 12 minus 2, right? It's 2 as well. So we have 2 minus, so it's 2 times 2, minus the f of xy squared now. What happened at f of xy squared? Remember, it's x is 2, 3, y is 3. xy squared. 3 by 3 is 9. 9 fours 36. 36 minus 8 is 24, and the 24 will be squared. So it's minus 24. Remember, I'm reminding you again, should try this, pause the video at various points and try it. Alright? And even after you watch the video, try to redo it by yourself. So D equals 2 2's 4 minus, well, minus 24 squared. That's a negative number, definitely negative. So we don't have to worry about this. So D is less than 0. So according to our formula sheet here, when D is less than 0, the function has a saddle point. So you can see here at 3 3 negative 81. 3 3 negative 81 is a saddle point. By the way, let me see something here. Oh, I didn't square this 24 here, This is supposed to be squared. So D would definitely be less than 0. It's a negative. Right? This is negative 22 by negative 22. It's like 22 squared minus 24 squared. It's going to be negative. So it's not a maximum point here. It's a saddle point. Right? This will be a saddle point. Alright. So we have these four points. Now when x is 1 and y is negative 1, 1, negative 1, what were the locations again? 1, negative 1, negative 1. And the other point was, well, it should be negative 1, 1, negative 1. The other point, negative 1, 1, negative 1. Because when x is negative 1 and y is 1, just checking again, the last point there, the last critical point, when x is negative 1, negative 1 squared will be 1 times y is 1, which is just 1, minus 5 times negative 1 squared is 5, minus 5 ones by 1 squared is 5, minus negative 1 by positive 1 is negative 8 times negative 1 is positive 8. So it was negative 10 plus 8. Negative 10 plus 8 is negative 2 plus 1, negative 1. Right, it was right. But here, fxx, when x is negative 1 and y is 1, is 4 minus 10, which is a negative. Xx is a negative. It's negative. So you have 4 by 1. When y is 1, 1 is 4. 4 minus 10 is negative 6. So you have a negative 6 here. So D would be negative 6 times, and then the x, the fyy, no, fyy. Here, x is a negative, x is a negative 1. Remember, we're looking at x negative 1, no, 1 negative 1, xy, 1 negative 1, x is 1, y is negative 1. When x is 1 and y is negative 1. When x is 1, y is negative 1, here, fxx would be negative 4 minus 10, which is negative 14, right? It would be negative 14 here, not negative 6. So D equals negative 6 times, and then we want to find out what is fyy. X is positive 1, y is negative 1. So x positive 1, y is negative 1. So 4 1 is 4. 4 minus 10 is negative 6. So that now gives us the negative 6. Right? It wasn't this we're working out. It was this. So let's try this again. X is 1, y is negative 1. What does D work out to? We want to find out what fxx is. When x is 1, when x is positive 1, y is negative 1. Xx. Y is negative 1. Negative 4 by negative 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 minus 10 is negative 14. So fxx is negative 14 times. And then, remember, x is positive 1, y is negative 1. So fyy, x is positive 1. 4 minus 10 is negative 6. It's going to be minus 6. Then minus, now, the f of xy and square it. X is positive 1, y is negative 1. Positive 1, negative 1. When you multiply them, you get negative 1. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 minus 8 is negative 12. So we're going to have negative 12 squared here. So minus 12 squared. Well, you don't have to work it out. You see that D is obviously a negative, so it's less than 0. So this is also a saddle point. Alright? It's a saddle point. And when you have x is negative 1 and y is positive 1, x is negative 1, y is positive 1, negative 1, 1. F of xx would be 4 by y, which is 4, 1, 4. 4 minus 10. So f of xx would be a negative 6. F of yy would be what? It would be 4 by negative 1. Negative 4 minus 10, negative 14. And then f of xy squared. F of xy is what? Negative 1 by positive 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 by 4 is negative 4. Negative 4 minus 8 is negative 12. Alright? And you're going to have negative 12. And that's squared. So when you work that out, f of xx, f of yy, you'll have negative 6 minus 4 times negative 14 minus 12 squared. Obviously, that will give you a negative. So D at that point is also less than 0. So D is less than 0. You can see there's also a saddle point here. So what we have is a maximum point at 0, 0, 0, but a saddle point at negative 3, negative 3, negative 81, saddle point at 3, 3, negative 81, saddle point at 1, negative 1, negative 1, and saddle point at negative 1, 1, negative 1.